Happy Thursday! Another Thursday, which means we have another full out chat today to finish out our week. Super excited to talk to Nicole Nichols, head cheerleading coach at West Georgia, also assistant coach on the all-girl U.S. national team. I am super excited to meet her. I have actually never met her. We've actually never really spoken until we did our audio check today, but I'm super excited about these types of interviews because I'm learning just like you guys. I do not know her background. I learned a couple things about her already that I'm excited about. But before we can go full out, we need some music. So as every coach says, let's just do it one more time and let's go full out.
Are you ready? Full out chats. You know what time it is. S-U-L-L-O-U-E. We got control, we got the right, we got the vision, you lose the sight. We will never stop. What? We got the drop deal. What time is it? Full out. We're live in 5, 6, 7, 8.
All right, it is time to go full out with Nicole Nichols, head cheerleading coach at the University of West Georgia. Nicole, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining me today to tell us your story and so everybody can learn about you and kind of where you came from and your background and just hear the story.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity. You know, I've been watching some of these that you've been doing, and I just think it's great to get people's stories out there and for, you know, just our cheer community to meet each other virtually, since essentially that's all we can do right now. So this is awesome.
Well, you're very welcome and thank you. No, I mean, literally this started because, yeah, we're all in quarantine. I had a couple extra minutes in my day that I could do something, and it's something I've always wanted to do. But also, like, you know, me being a coach also, I think people just know you get kind of pigeonholed as, okay, you're the coach of so-and-so. You're the coach of West Georgia, you know, and that's
right.
it. But people don't know what is your background? Where did you come from? And, you know, how did you get into this? And kind of just get to know these people on a more personal level. And so I'm really excited to give you that platform. And so, yeah, like I asked every guest, you know, kind of start from the beginning, you know, where did you grow up? You know, talk about your family if you'd like to, kind of the sports you played. And then as always, how did you get, you know, roped into this crazy thing called cheerleading?
Right. It is a crazy thing.
Yes.
You have to be a little bit insane, especially to be a college cheerleading coach. I mean, we are all our own crazy. But, well, I was born and raised in York, Pennsylvania. You know, I did gymnastics most of my life. And once I got to high school, I kind of hit that plateau mark. And I was like, well, I mean, what else am I going to do? And I kind of played a little bit of, you know, soccer in middle school. I tried volleyball in middle school. But being 4'11", you know, other sports just necessarily aren't for me. So what I was really good at was flipping my body over. And I was really trusting in other people. So I thought to try this cheerleading thing. You know, my mom cheered, but it was like, you know, thigh stands and the quintessential, you know, rah, rah, shish, kumbah kind of cheering. So I thought I would give it a try. So I cheered in high school, but we didn't compete or anything. I mean, we did like local competitions, but we weren't amazing. I'll say that. And all I could do was, you know, a back handspring and a standing tuck. So at that point I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do after high school. So I stayed home and I actually went to the local college at home. I went to York College. I did cheer there while I was there. Again, it was just something to do to keep me busy just because I liked to be busy. I liked to be around people, you know. I made staff right out of high school. So I did UCA staff. I met a whole lot of people, as you could imagine, through that process. And after my first year, I met a lot of people who went to Slippery Rock University. And they all were like, you know, come on. Mind you, I had never done co-ed stunting like ever. I did it once in a while for like a few intro stunts, but that was really it. I had no clue what this co-ed stunting really consisted of. But next thing I knew, I was putting in my application. I was looking for a roommate, a place to live, everything like that. And I was on my way to Slippery Rock University to cheer for their co-ed team. So I cheered there for 5 years. I did 5 years there. You know, we never won. we we were okay, you know, but we always came up, you know, second, third. And at that time, the big rival was the University of West Georgia.
Okay. Which is ironic, obviously. We'll
Right?
we'll get to that part in a second. For people that don't know, I mean, I'm old school, and so my memories of Slippery Rock is like Andy Brown and
Right.
those people, and that,
Right.
like Slippery Rock, still a good program today. I mean, I remember the days when they had Andy Brown, and who was, for people that do not know Andy Brown.
Andy Brown, Scott Thomas.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
The old school guy. I mean, they were so good. I mean, but talk about kind of the transition from going, like, kind of staying home, kind of the safety net of that, to, I mean, really, I mean, going to a bigger school, and where you have to, you know, I'm sure game day was bigger, and now you're competing at the national level. Kind of talk about that transition, going from kind of that safety net of home to, you know, going to this, you know, bigger opportunity at Slippery Rock.
So I guess for me, it was kind of, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And because I had never like done this competitive thing, I didn't have anything set in mind as to what to expect. So I guess like my expectations were kind of low. And I didn't have anything to compare it to be perfectly honest. So this was like my only competitive experience. So I didn't really know what I was getting into, but I knew I was going to do everything I possibly could to make Matt. I knew I was going to do everything I possibly could to surround myself with people that had similar mindsets as me. You know, so, you know, just being a coach, when you get transfer kids, you know, they try to compare everything to that, but I didn't have that because I didn't cheer, you know, essentially in a competitive nature. So, you know, I went into this just with hopes and dreams to better myself as a person and better myself as, you know, an athlete. You know, but I took a leap of faith. I moved across the state because York, Pennsylvania is in the eastern part, and Slippery Rock is almost to Ohio. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was, you know, 6 hours away from home. So there was no like, hey, I want to go home for the weekend. Like when I got homesick, I was there.
Yeah.
So essentially, you know, just having all those relationships beforehand, I think definitely helped with my transition, going from, you know, this safety net of being at home to, well, I'm going to take this leap of faith and just, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to go here. And thank God I did, you know, because it has led me to so many opportunities, that I wouldn't have had if I would have stayed at home. Like I look back and I'm like, if I would have stayed at home, my life probably would look so much different if I wouldn't have taken that leap of faith. So
for those of you joining us, I'm here with Nicole Nichols, head cheerleading coach at the University of West Georgia. We are talking about, she's just transferred to Slippery Rock University. She's experiencing a whole different world out there. So, I mean, so like you said, you talked about in terms of you did compete there. You guys were competitive, you know, did well. But also you're doing UCA staff. And so, I mean, talk about kind of balancing both. But actually, before I get to the question, we will do a Q&A at the end. So people that are joining, instead of putting them in the comments, we'll miss it. We're going to talk here. I'm going to miss those in the comments. So at the very bottom, you'll see a question mark. Tap that question mark. Send me questions directly from there, and then Nicole will be happy to answer them later in the show. So talk about kind of balancing both being, you know, obviously a cheerleader at Slippery Rock, but then also in the summers, you're doing UCA staff. And so kind of, you know, the opportunities from there and kind of the balance of both of those worlds.
So I was that instructor that was willing to go anywhere and everywhere. Like literally, if they called me the night before and was like, hey, we want you to drive 6 hours here, I was like, yes, sign me up. I want to go. I wanted to work as much as humanly possible during the summer. So obviously I could save up money and just so I could have these experiences and meet different people and teams and just see different areas and stuff like that. You know, I wanted to broaden who I was by being in these different places. So one thing led to another with UCA staff, and over a few summers, I had the opportunity to be invited to do core staff. And then I had the opportunity to be invited to do college staff. And, you know, that really opened up my eyes to a whole new world of other programs that were out there, and that there were different ways to do things, and I was learning new skills, and I was being able to, you know, bring some of this stuff back to Slippery Rock and offer it to my teammates, and just, you know, get different ways to do cheerleading and to do life. And, you know, I'm a busy person. I like to be busy. I don't like downtime. I don't do well with downtime. So I tried to stay busy through the summers. I tried to stay busy when we had off times, you know, in the spring with Slippery Rock, to go and work, you know, the national high school events and the all-star events and things like that. I tried to take the experience to the extreme and do everything that I absolutely could with it.
So obviously you're meeting, and you kind of talked about it, you're meeting, I mean, to make college staff's a big deal. You got to be one of the best of the best. You are learning all these different skills. And you can say, taking them back to Slippery Rock, I mean, talk about, I mean, how today as a coach, what was the experience of being on college staff, and how did that really help you become a coach in terms of the competitiveness and obviously becoming a champion at West Georgia?
So, funny thing is, so I cheered co-ed on Slippery Rock, but on college staff, I specifically did elite all-girl class.
Okay.
So, you know, I got to build my skills, and I encourage my athletes now, you know, my top girls, like, go back and forth with both, because it will make you so much better. And I never realized that until I actually, you know, was on college staff and I was doing all girl, but then in some of the demo pieces I was doing co-ed. So to flip back and forth, it's not that much different, but it is, you know, essentially. So, you know, that definitely helped me to become a better athlete, to be able to go back and forth and be able to figure out how to do things with different people, with different techniques, you know, and not just be stuck in, this is the only way to do this skill. There were so many different ways to do all these different skills, and there were so many different techniques to use. So, you know, being able to learn from all the amazing people that I got to work with on college staff and learn from them and listen to them speak and listen to them teach, I think definitely helped me as a leader. It definitely helped me as a coach. And then again, working with all the different abilities that we had, you know, come through with the different teams and the different dynamics and the different makeups. You know, you get to meet a whole lot of coaches. You get to meet a whole lot of, you know, college athletes and work with so many different programs, and no two are the same, which is so awesome. You know, so being able to be adaptive and change your teaching style to, you know, this team who only has 2 guys, but they want to do these elite pyramids and stuff like that, to this team who has, you know, 12 guys and they also want to do these elite pyramids. Being able to work in the moment, make the changes in the moment, and teach in the moment, I mean, that's invaluable. You can't compare that to anything else. And that's just something, you know, that's such a great takeaway from staff and college staff specifically. So.
So we're here with Nicole Nichols, head cheerleading coach at the University of West Georgia. If you're joining us here, if you have any questions for Nicole, we will do a Q&A towards the end of the show. And so if you see the question mark at the bottom, just tap on that question mark and send me some questions. And if we can get through them all, we'll try. Nicole will be happy to answer them later. So while you're at Slippery Rock, what are you studying? What's your major there?
My major was secondary ed Spanish.
Oh, wow. Okay. So was that the goal? I mean, was that the plan? Was that the plan to teach Spanish? Okay, wow. Okay. So what was it about that specific kind of major that kind of interests you?
So I changed my major like 4 times.
Sure. Like every college kid. So don't worry about that. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So I went to York College. I was a nursing major. I left there, went to Slippery Rock, and I was like, they've got a pretty decent exercise science. So I went there, and I was originally planning to do exercise science. I had always had a minor in Spanish just because my Spanish teacher in high school, I absolutely adored her. So I wanted to just stick with it for her and just to be able to still have that connection when I went back to visit and stuff like that. So I was exercise science. Then I switched to just like mass comm. And I was like, what am I going to do with that? And I was like, you know, I really love working with kids. I love this idea that I could still do staff over the summers if I'm a teacher, you know, this kind of stuff. So my final be all end all was, let's go ahead and do secondary ed. Let's do Spanish, because Slippery Rock had a great program for it. And let's just go for it, you know? So that was kind of the thought process through the years of how I ended up with that major.
So while you're at Slippery Rock, you're staffing, obviously, and you're cheering. So I ask this to every coach. When was it that it kind of hit you, man, I would love to do this coaching thing full time. I would like to make a living doing this, or try to. When did that kind of hit you, or when did you kind of realize like that was what you wanted to try to do?
Not until after I graduated and I was out of school. So here's the funny story. So the picture that you have up right now, the part
Is this at Milwaukee? Is this at Milwaukee?
Yes, yes.
I miss Milwaukee camp.
Oh my God, I loved it. Going out on
minus
by
the hot
lake.
dorms, I miss it.
Right, I know. It was like my favorite. I mean, I can just feel the breeze right now in that picture.
Going to the lake, like right in this. Oh yeah,
Yes.
Yep.
So what is cut out of this picture right now, as you see it, is my husband. So, which is really funny. So
No offense, I didn't know it was your husband, so I just zoomed in on you.
No, it's totally fine. So I met my husband doing college staff. He cheered at West Georgia. I cheered at Slippery Rock. Ultimately, we were at first, rivals. But we met. We became really good friends. The relationship continued from there, and that's when like the whole West Georgia thing was like, I mean, that would be cool to be down there and be around, a really good program and stuff like that. So after I graduated, we had dated for like a year long distance. And there was a point where I was like, okay, are we either gonna like, someone's gonna move or are we just gonna be done with this? Like what is happening here? And at that moment, the West Georgia position opened up.
Okay.
He applied for it. I applied for it just to kind of double our chances to, be able to take over this program and to do something great together. I ended up getting the position. Next thing I knew, I'm moving down to Carrollton, Georgia, and we're taking this thing over with Cody Sellers, and that was it pretty much, So
For
it
people
wasn't.
that know, Cody is such a good dude, by the way.
Oh my
Cody,
God.
Yeah. If you don't know Cody, you got it. This guy's a great dude. Just a great guy.
We love him so much, and he's doing awesome things over at UAB.
Yes.
Absolutely awesome things over there. So, but yeah, we kind of started as like a little trio together, not really knowing what we were getting into, what we were doing, but just knowing that we were going to love these kids and this program with all of our heart. So,
okay, we're here with Nicole Nichols, West Georgia. We're finally there in the story. She is moving down to Carrollton, Georgia. So, literally, you graduate from Slippery Rock. What was the time frame between graduating and then moving down to Georgia?
So I graduated in 2008. I met Brian in 2010, and then that next year I was coming down. Okay,
so kind of before we get to that, then kind of talk what happened in those couple years from before you went down to Georgia.
So in those 2 years, the first year that I got out of college, I was working in a ABA, applied behavior analysis. I was working for a company that does that, and they did home care for children on the autism spectrum.
So you are using your major. You are actually working with.
Essentially, yes, I'm working with kids.
Okay.
So I do that, and I absolutely loved it, but I was still living out in Slippery Rock, and I wasn't loving that.
Okay.
So essentially I moved home and I got a paraprofessional job one-on-one with a child who was on the spectrum. So I worked with him, part of his middle school and then into high school. And then all of this kind of happened. And while I was working in the middle school and the high school, I was coaching the high school cheerleading team.
Oh, okay.
And I loved it. I love being able to mentor kids. I still love being able to teach and build relationships and things like that. Again, they didn't compete or anything like that. It was game day. I actually coached wrestling cheerleading.
Old school. I like it. Yes.
I know.
So you did get a little bit of a coaching experience before moving down to Georgia.
Absolutely. So I had the bug, I wanted to do this. I wanted to keep doing something, even if it was at, a smaller level and stuff like that. So
while doing that, are you still staffing? Are you still able to do summers and staff? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great.
I absolutely am. I loved it, and my kids loved that I did it. They thought it was so cool, everything like that, and we had actually apped one of my kids. So it was fun to be able to see, someone that I had kind of coached and everything, get those experiences and stuff at a high school level. So,
So, okay. So you are working with an autistic child on the spectrum. You're living still in Pennsylvania. You meet, as we find out, the love of your life. But like you said, one of you got to make a decision. You both apply for the West Georgia position as it opens up. And so now you're in Georgia. You're down there. I love, this is my favorite question because I think we all know the hurdles and the pain. Talk about that first year and you're the new coach and you're trying to instill what you believe is right, and you obviously are going to have some kids that don't think you're right. So kind of talk
Yeah.
about that first year. I mean, the big buzzword in coaching is culture. Always is culture. So when you went down there, what was your game plan and kind of what were the hurdles you had that first year at West Georgia?
So that first year, we didn't get to recruit. So I didn't get hired until I think June of that summer.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep.
So like I
Teams
didn't get
picked,
to,
you already, yeah.
Oh yeah, everything is done.
Yep.
So and I didn't physically get down there with the kids until August.
Oh,
so
wow.
like
Okay.
we're pretty much back to school, everything like that. So I didn't really know what I was walking into. I knew I was walking into a tradition of winning. I knew that. I knew I had to be able to uphold that standard. But I didn't know the talent level that these kids had. So I walk in and, it was kind of culture shock because Carrollton, Georgia is small. So I was like, oh gosh, okay, I'm in the South. Oh, okay. And I walk in and, like my all-girl team, I say, let's line up, let's ripple full-ups. And it's like, drop. I'm like, what are we going to do? What am I supposed to do? Like, I'm supposed to make sure that they win. Like, what am I supposed to do? So, it was just grind time. And luckily, Brian and Cody had been through the program. So, like, they knew a lot of the traditions that needed to stay. They knew a lot of the things that probably needed to go and needed to be revamped. And we have so many amazing alumni in Carrollton, Georgia. We have Sherry Cooney. And if you know Sherry Cooney, I mean, she's hands down one of the best people to have in your corner. And we have her in our corner. So we sought a lot of guidance from her that year, the next year, the following year. And she's still like, she always says, I'm not coaching kids anymore, but I'm going to coach the coaches. And she 100% lives by that on a daily basis for us. So, without her, without having Brian and Cody by my side, there's no way we would have been able to do what we did within those first couple years as we were trying to change the culture, as we were trying to make it our program, But yeah, there was a lot of struggles. There was a lot of, unfortunately, house cleaning that had to be done, and just, things that had to be changed. But we have amazing support from our admin too, which is very helpful. I didn't get pushback from them when I wanted to make changes, when I needed help, when I needed guidance. They were there, and they still are always there to kind of support us in whatever we deem is appropriate for our program. So.
So again, we're here with Nicole Nichols, head cheerleading coach at the University of West Georgia. We have in about 20 minutes, we're going to do a Q&A. So if you have any questions for Nicole about her, about West Georgia, about anything, feel free to tap on that question mark at the bottom of the screen and send me some questions, and I'd be happy to get those to Nicole so that she can answer them for you. So you moved down to Georgia. Like you said, you said that culture shock, I'm quite sure, and a different. And that first year, you're taking over, like you said, a tradition of winning. For people that do not know who Sherry Cooney is, she's a legend. I mean, she was one of the original all-girl coaches for Team USA. Was at West Georgia for many years, head judge for UCA Nationals. I mean, just a legend. So first year at Nationals as a coach. Talk about that with West Georgia. Your first year down at Nationals.
So first year down at Nationals, it was the first goal was get everybody there. So that first year we actually we flew, and that's when we decided we'll never do this again. Oh my God, does everyone have their license? Does everyone have, we got to pay for all the check bags, and then we got to make sure that the carry-ons aren't too big, and then we got to make sure everyone gets to the actual gate, and then what do we do with our signs, our megs, all the cheer props? It was so stressful just getting there. My gosh. Yeah. So we've taken a bus every year after that because we're so close, But
how long of a drive is it?
It's about 6.5 hours on the bus.
Not bad at all. Yeah.
No, we leave in the middle of the night. The kids sleep. It's
and they're there.
Exactly. We wake up and we're in Disney. It's perfect. And honestly, by the time you go to the gate and you drive to the airport and everything, you're about the same amount of hours anyway. So
did you fly to Atlanta, I'm guessing? Or?
Yeah.
So
So it was just a little bit chaotic, So we get there, and navigating everything, we had tried to prepare as much as we could. What time do we compete? Back that up. What time do we need to be doing the hotel warm up? Back that up. When does the sun actually go down? Because at that point, that was when co-ed was competing at like 8 o'clock at night. So we're like, well, when does the sun go down in Florida? Like, we're doing all this stuff to like make sure we're prepared, make sure the kids are prepared, everything like that, so those days are so long, having all girl and co-ed. Like, you are going from like 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., and then after you compete, you're playing mom and dad, chaperoning, make sure that the kids are back in the hotel rooms, doing room checks, everything like that. Like, it does not stop until you get back here in Carrollton. Like, you leave Carrollton and it is a nonstop ride for nationals. And I just had I had no clue what it was going to take to be there for that weekend and everything. So the bummer to that was, my first 2 years coaching, all girl had won both years and co-ed had lost. And co-ed had been like the reigning champ, So, after that, it was a lot of alumni taking a good hard look, like, is this the right person that needs to be in this seat, everything like that. And it was, that third year it was hard co-ed focused, so, and we got them back on top, but it was hard after that second year to sit back and be like, oh, am I ruining this? Like, what am I doing wrong? What is going on? We need to be doing this to recruit. And, so that was hard. I learned a lot that year, 100%. But like I said, I'm a lifelong learner. We all are. And we learned a lot of lessons, and we seem to be kind of getting it right again. So
I would say so. We'll talk about that here in about 10, 15 minutes, just some of the innovative stunts that West Georgia has done the last few years has been unbelievable, and just you guys keep pushing the boundaries. But as you were talking about, all girl at the time had won 2 in a row, but that was in Division II. Is that correct? When you guys were Division II. So I know at the time when it happened, and we'll talk about co-ed here in a bit also, then they made the announcement that West Georgia and Moorhead All-Girl are going to be competing against each other. And so Moorhead All-Girl had, obviously it's Moorhead. They've been dominating Division I. West Georgia was. And so everybody was very excited about, okay, here we go. Talk about that announcement at the time when you found out, okay, well, my girls are now competing against Moorhead.
So we found out at camp.
Okay.
I was sitting in the coaches meeting, and they were just like,
were you at Bama camp?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, we're combining divisions. My kids are down in cheer class, and I'm like, what? Like, what? We didn't even get to use this information as a recruiting tool. What do you mean we're combining divisions? Like, they have this budget. I have, I was just ultimate. At first, I was like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And then I was like, you know what? Let's go. Like, let's go for it. Like, go big or go home. So we told our kids as soon as they were done cheer class, like, here's what we're doing. And I've never seen like a bigger fire get lit than I did, like, in that moment that we told them, so we went to work immediately. We were, what skills do we need? And we made a big jump in our skill progression that year. Those kids worked really hard. Brian came up with some really innovative stuff for them to try and do and figure out, and pyramids and stuff like that. So at first it was like terrifying. And then ever since then, it's just been like, this is what we were meant to do. This is what we came here for. So it's been fun.
I was going to ask, I agree with you. Do you feel that because of that happening, it ultimately made you a better coach, and it made your kids have to work harder and just made your program better?
Absolutely. 100%, because we knew if we wanted to keep winning and we wanted to at least keep being up there and getting our name put in the hat, we had to be pushing the envelope every single year. We had to be working harder than we were the year before. And that was the only way this program was going to keep being a top tier program is if we all committed to that mindset. So.
Well, real quick, just want to give a shout out to my sponsor for the show. It is Cheer Chalk. So if you've ever used it, a couple of my guys have used it actually. If you're ever working out, stunting, sweating, you get sweaty hands, and sometimes feet are slipping. It actually really is a good product to help with stunting, especially if you have sweaty hands or if it's warm outside, really hot outside, and things like that. So if you could just go to cheerchalk.us and put in the discount code FULLOUT10, you'll get an additional 10% off the $5 off that you already have going on right now. So get a really good discount, and one bottle of Cheer Chalk lasts for about 50 uses. So it'll last you definitely a long time. So again, go to cheerchalk.us and put in the discount code FULLOUT10 to get the additional 10% off the $5 special they have going on right now. So you make the transition to D1 All-Girl, and clearly have been very successful there. It's for many years now been the West Georgia Moorhead battle there. And then we kind of chatted about it. I know you want to talk about it. Now it's co-ed's turn to make that show. And, which, I mean, you've already talked about it. West Georgia co-ed has been known for years. I mean, you guys have competed some very elite stunts over the years and very innovative pyramids and things like that. But now talk about that. Now talk about kind of how was that transition so far, and kind of how did that talk go with your team about going D1 for co-ed?
So, there's always been a talk every single year, like this could be the year. Ever since the all-girl transition, we were like, well, I mean, it's bound to happen to co-ed at some point. We were just kind of waiting, like, when is it going to be? And we always wanted to be prepared for it, which is why, we continue to push and push and push and throw those elite skills and stuff. Because we didn't want to get caught not ready, and we didn't want to get caught, so far behind in the stunt times that we were having to play catch up. We wanted to be able to go into this prepared as much as we could be, with the right people in place, with the right, skill progression in place and things like that. So, I guess we've always kind of been ready for it. It was just a matter of like, when was it going to happen? So our kids have been ready for it, and they've been, biting at the bit for it to happen. So when we finally, made the announcement that there was, there were some rumors going on for sure this year that it was going to happen. And we felt pretty good about those rumors. They went to work in the spring, like no other. We got back from nationals, and we were like, hey, like, we had some pretty decent conversations down there, and we feel, this year is going to be the year. We're just waiting for an official announcement and an official, like, go time. And we got it, a couple months ago, and we were like, let's get going. And those kids have been working. I mean, they've been working, and they're ready for it. So we're excited.
We were talking, we do appreciate that UCA let us know now.
Right? At camp.
Camp at the coaches meeting.
That's been like my biggest push. I just want to have notice before this actually happens. Like every year I say it, I just want notice. Like I just want to know beforehand, because, ultimately we want to be able to use it as a recruiting tool. We want to be able to prepare our kids. We want to be able to field our team with the appropriate skills, the right tumbling, the right stunting, everything like that, and we didn't want to get caught off guard. Like, oh, by the way, because it's not a by the way topic. It's there's a lot of pre-planning that goes into place for it. So like you said, people have been talking about it for years. So, I mean, West Georgia Moorhead is going to be a great, I'll just call it a rivalry, because it's got to be a rivalry. It's going to be a rivalry. And that's it already is.
Yeah,
but the great thing is too, is like our kids, even though there's like that little bit of rivalry, it's like, they also get along because of it, which is really awesome to see in the cheerleading culture. It's not like a hate rivalry. It's definitely a love-hate kind of thing. Especially so many of them work staff together and stuff like that, so it's been a cool thing to see the relationships build and stuff like that. And so many of them are on USA together too. So to see those relationships build, and them to be, all of them to be mature, to support each other and just love on each other, and Mark and I, obviously we get along really well, and we kind of poke fun at each other too. So
Mark Coleman, first of all, is very easy to poke fun of, let's be honest here. So but no, I mean, I'm just super, I mean, I think we all are. I mean, we were kind of talking about how it's just going to make nationals better. It's not, I mean, for a fact now, people are going to want to watch D1 co-ed and all-girl. I mean, they're going to. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
absolutely going to happen. You know, not knocking any other team in those divisions. There
No,
are
no,
some
no,
very,
no.
very good teams. And, like, we were actually talking about it. We had on my Coach's Corner show last week, we were talking about the new divisions. And, like, I mean, Puerto Rico Bayomon's a really good team.
Oh,
and, like,
absolutely.
There's somebody that's going to now really probably get better because of this. And I just think it's going to be better for UCA College Nationals overall.
I do too. You know, our division for co-ed was just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. We were like, you know, what can we do to help this, and you know, everything like that. And there comes a point, and that's why they did it with all girl. You know, is because just the participation levels and stuff like that. You know, so I get it, I do. And like you said, you know, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be fun to watch. I think it'll, you know, just bring that aspect back to it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
really good.
so everybody is joining us. In about 10 minutes, we're going to do a Q&A. So if you have any questions for Nicole, tap on the question mark box at the bottom. Tap that. Send me some questions. I'd be happy to get those to Nicole. And you had a great segue. You were saying, you know, obviously, you know, there's a rivalry between Moorhead and West Georgia, but ultimately those athletes are working together through staff or through USA. And, you know, awesome thing was you were announced as one of the assistant coaches for the all-girl team for the U.S. national team. So kind of talk about how'd you get that phone call? What all happened on that? I mean, unfortunately, obviously not competing at ICU this year, but just kind of talk about your first tryout process and kind of your experience so far with that position.
So when I first got the conversation, it was from Tony, and he was just kind of poking to see what kind of interest I had in it and everything like that. And I had just had our second baby, and it was
Of course,
oh my
good
gosh,
timing.
yeah, like, and so ultimately, you know, it's is this the right time? Should I do this? You know, my family, you know, is it going to take away from West Georgia? You know, so there was a lot of discussion between, you know, Brian and myself. You know, can I do this? Can I do this and still be able to do West Georgia and still be able to, you know, give attention to my family and my full-time job and everything like that, you know? And ultimately he was like, Nicole, if you don't do this now, you don't know when that opportunity is going to come around again. This is not something that happens every year. This isn't even something that happens every other year. He's like, you don't know when that opportunity will come back. He's like, and I don't want there to be regret later down the road and stuff like that. So ultimately he was like, we'll figure it out. Go for it, you know? So we had talked with my mom. My mom was going to come down for the 2 weeks that we had to be gone down in Orlando and things like that. So, you know, I interviewed for it. And I ultimately was offered the opportunity, which if you would have asked me, you know, 10 years ago, if I could see myself in this, no way, you know, no way. So I'm honored to have that opportunity. And I don't take it lightly. I don't take it for granted. You know, I feel like I've had a lot of support to be able to get to this position. I absolutely did not get there by myself. I've had a lot of push and pull from people to ultimately make me who I am today. And I love that. So our first tryout process, I was so amazed at just the talent that came through, you know, and it was a bummer to have to cut people because like I said, the amount of talent that just came through, I was like, holy cow.
I mean, everybody's probably qualified. It's just you're going to pick the best ones. I mean, that's
absolutely, exactly. And you know, this year they wanted to kind of downsize the team because they had, you know, budgets and stuff like that, and just isn't necessary to have as many groups as they had in the past and stuff like that. So we were even trying to like make it a little bit smaller. So we had picked the team and everything like that, and we were ready to go. Like we were ready to roll. We had a band group going. We had challenges going, everything like that. We had our first practice weekend in Memphis. That was awesome. You know, Tony has been one of my role models since I've been on staff, you know. He's always been someone I could kind of, you know, reach out to, ask for guidance to, you know, outside of Carrollton. And he's always very honest and very black and white, just kind of like we are here in the program. So, you know, his coaching style fit. So we had our practice weekend in Memphis, and we had some amazing skills planned, and we were, you know, ultimately ready to go. And then the next thing we knew, all this Corona stuff happened, and
Yeah.
we were put on hold, and
Yeah.
but we'll get
I
back
mean,
at it.
before we're 5 minutes away from our Q&A, so any last minute questions, tap on that question mark at the bottom, send them to me, and Nicole will be happy to answer them. So let's talk about that. I mean, obviously the coronavirus epidemic came about and really obviously has flipped our world upside down. I saw West Georgia, you just recently you did announce your teams. Kind of talk about, I'm guessing you guys did virtual tryouts also, like everybody else. Kind of talk about that process. How was the virtual tryout process for you guys? And kind of what is the game plan for West Georgia going into the summer for people that are curious about you and your program with the whole epidemic going on?
Yeah, so we did a lot of sign-ons this year.
I saw that. Very cool. How was that?
We actually really liked being able to do that. So I think that's probably something we will continue to do into the next year and everything like that, just to be able to get those, big name commits that we really know that we want in the program. People that have, genuinely dedicated time to the program and have shown some commitment and stuff already. I think we definitely will do something like that next year again. Virtual tryouts, we did a tryout form initially just to get interest. We had 70 people be interested, which was huge, know. We sent them, instructions to do their video submissions and things like that. We had a set of skills for all girls, set of skills for co-ed. We got about 40 video submissions from there out of the 70. Yeah. So it was, and granted that's between both teams,
but still, that's a bit.
We were pretty surprised. So, we sat down virtually as coaches and we screen shared and we watched videos and we had long discussions. This process took longer than our actual in-person tryouts. I will be honest. And the bummer to it was that you just can't get a feel for, are these kids coachable? Are they a good teammate? I know some other programs did like Zoom calls and stuff like that. And this is not my full-time job. So we just did not have the time to be able to dedicate to doing all those extra things. So we relied heavily on the videos that they submitted. We relied on like looking at their social media and looking at past videos, and just trying to get a judge of their character that way. We reached out to some coaches and things like that too, to ask about these kids. And we fielded our teams with more kids than we probably would have in a live tryout.
Okay.
But we didn't have another way to like genuinely be able to cut people essentially, because there was some good talent that came through. So we're picking up and we're moving on. With our current kids, we've been doing a lot of video challenges on a weekly basis to keep them, involved, to keep them thinking about West Georgia cheerleading on a daily basis. We've just moved the new members into our band group, so they'll start those challenges next week. We wanted to give them a chance to see what the expectation is, to understand, how to submit your videos, what the quality of the video should be, things like that. They've been doing workouts virtually, and they've been, honestly, I was so skeptical of it and just really nervous, and my kids have been killing it, like just killing it, and I'm really proud of them. So
I feel your pain. I was, we started ours also, and I can tell people are trying their best, but as we always say, like, there's no shape like cheerleading shape. You just,
I know, to hold bodies above your head is a different muscle group than like holding, a handstand or anything like that. It definitely works different muscles. So trying to come up with workouts that are also like equipment free so everybody can do that. It's been hard, but Brian's been awesome at it. He's a big fitness guy, so he's been great to kind of guide us to make sure that we're kind of hitting all body parts and stuff like that. And my coaching staff has been great to give suggestions and recommendations and stuff like that too. So together we've really just been giving them different things. And this past week we actually started with like some life skill challenges, like what's your why? Just kind of digging and prying at them a little bit to get them thinking, just life skills too. So,
Well, I think it's time for a Q&A. Are you ready, Nicole?
I am.
Okay, let me get the sound effect to kick it off here.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now we're ready for our Q&A. Do you know Phil O'Neill from Oklahoma?
Yeah,
Oh.
I know Phil very well.
This is a very Phil question. I hope you're ready. 2 questions from everyone that's from Pennsylvania. Pat Steaks or Geno Steaks, and then Eagles or Steelers. Boom.
I gotta go with Geno's.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I gotta go with Geno's, and then I gotta go Steelers just because I spent more time over in that area.
Yep.
And I've never actually been to an Eagles game, but I've been to a Steelers game. And
That makes
it's
sense.
actually the Steelers. So if you're from that area, there's no double E. It's an I.
Oh, and there's a big boo from Phil. So Phil clearly did not
Sorry,
agree.
Phil. If you ask me now, it's the Falcons. So
Obvious. I'm going to say, are you a Falcon? Have you converted to a Falcons fan? So there we
I
go.
have, because Brian's a huge Falcons fan. So you just got to buy in where you're at, right?
And Phil just wants to know you're 0 for 2. So clearly, yeah, I mean, it happened. It happens.
Okay. It's okay.
This is from, here we go. Favorite cheer moment when you were at Slippery Rock as an athlete?
Oh my gosh, favorite cheer moment. I
Could be,
think,
yeah.
goodness. Honestly, I think just all the times that we spent in the cheer room, there was all this like gymnastics equipment in there and stuff too. So like just silly things would happen in there. We also had this like whole wall of mirrors. So just like remembering those moments of learning band dances and, you know, our coach telling us to turn around and watch ourselves in the mirror and that kind of stuff. Like just, I mean, those memories will never go away in that room. I mean, I can still picture it now, the tan brick all around and just a lot of time spent there.
All the stuff your coach told you that you hated that you probably now say as a coach, probably.
Yes, absolutely.
All of us, yep.
Yeah, do it again. Do it again. One more time. When is the last one more time?
What is it? What, one more time is not last time. There's a huge difference. That's what I always
Correct.
say.
You're right. Oh, that's a good one. I like that one.
This is from Jalen. How was it taking over such a traditional program? And kind of any tips for any new coaches maybe taking over a program, especially maybe a program that has a history of success?
So, you know, it's obviously a little bit intimidating taking it over. But my biggest tip for it is to surround yourself with amazing alumni and surround yourself with people who have been successful in the program. Because they're the ones ultimately who know, you know, some of the tips and tricks that they use, some of the processes that worked really well for them, things that did not work really well for them, so that you can kind of bounce ideas off of them and see how receptive they are to it to ultimately get your kids to buy in. Because ultimately they're going to reach out to those alumni and be like, she's making us do this, she's making us do that, or, you know, we're not doing this anymore. And those alumni can kind of have your back and be like,
Yep.
that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's definitely what we did with having, you know, Sherry, and we had like Ryan McKinnon, and we had so many alumni just rooting for us and in our corner that it made that transition really smooth for us.
Very cool. All right. Okay, here we go. What advice do you have for young cheerleaders? What skills are most important to perfect as a younger athlete looking to possibly do the cheerleading thing at the collegiate level?
So for young cheerleaders, because honestly they're all like the same size, I let them work different positions. You know, don't get them stuck in just a top girl position or a base position. Let them kind of touch all the different positions. Because then they'll have experience with it. So when they actually go through their body changes and their body actually grows and they grow into their body, they won't have only been a base and standing on the ground for their whole life, and now they're scared to be a top, and vice versa. And the biggest thing is progression. Like work and master progressions before you move on. So I know for like all-stars, you know, the big push is level 5 and fulls and this, that, the other thing. But if you have a bad round off, that full is never going to be easy. So master your progression before moving on that's just a huge, that I pride myself on us being so progression oriented. I mean, our first practice, we start with straight up extensions and show and goes, like, because I want it done the right way. So
Yep. Retweet. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Just having experience doing versatility is what I always say. Versatility.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%. Really good question here. outside of skills, what do you look for in an athlete for your program?
High character athletes. I need to be able to put kids in front of our alumni. I need to be able to put kids in front of the president of the university, because even though we have a new president this year, we've already met with him and he is like bought into the cheerleading program. Like
awesome.
I've never had presidents come through here who are so like, yes, let's go cheerleading, so he loves us and what we do. And I have to be able to have kids who can speak appropriately and speak well in front of those people. We are the face of the university, whether we like it or not. Cheerleaders are the face of the university, and I have to have kids who have clean social media, who have high quality standards to be able to put in front of those people, and that are reliable.
That is one thing that people don't really, I think that's one of the biggest jumps from high school all-star to college is exactly what you talked about, just 100%. Okay, hey, this is a really good one. On the flip side, any tips for any athletes who may be older but interested in maybe transferring to West Georgia or looking to transfer overall, or maybe I've actually had a couple people reach out to me. They've gone military a few years and then maybe want to go back to college. So any tips for maybe older athletes that maybe are looking into transferring?
Absolutely. So the first thing is to research the school. Make sure it's got the major that you want. Make sure education-wise it's a good move. Financially, it's going to be a good move. Because what happens if you have like a season-ending career? I mean, and you came specifically for cheerleading. You got to make sure everything else is going to be able to fall into place. Research the cheerleading teams and the skills that are needed for it. And then the last thing would be to absolutely show up to clinics. Get your face there. Make sure, wherever you're looking to transfer to, that it feels like home away from home. You fit in with the team. You fit in with the community. And that you can actually, at the clinics, get a good feel for what the skill set is going to be before you even start reaching out to the coaches, That's what I want to see. I want to see your face. I want to see your commitment to actually coming into my program, learning about my program, seeing the community, that you've kind of done your due diligence and your research ahead of time. And you're not just asking me to do it for you by asking me every single question in the book that lives out there on the internet, so.
We got a couple more here. This is actually from Kirby. She's an assistant out at Delaware.
Yeah, I know Kirby.
Yeah, great former athlete and coach. How have you gotten athletes to pick up the intensity of practice? So more so, how have you kind of made your athletes lead the practice, your athletes kind of lead in regards to, instead of always having to be reliant on the coach to do it?
Absolutely. So that definitely, after like my third year, that's when we realized like we've got to kick this thing into high gear. Like we need these kids to want to do it. It can't be like you're saying, so much coach driven. So we picked like a core group that we knew we could rely on to do these things. And essentially we put them in charge of making sure their teammates came along to things, opening up opportunities for their teammates to be at extra stunt sessions or get into one of the local rec gyms to get the extra tumbling, and it's essentially encourage them. And we've transitioned it into this year now with all this virtual stuff. We have groups that are set up and we have group leaders, and those group leaders take such pride in making sure that their group is the first to get the challenge done, or their group has done the challenges, excuse me, to the West Georgia standard and things like that. So we've essentially put our vets in charge of that, and just continually to have communication and make sure that we're putting the right people under the right vet, because everyone's got their own different personalities and their own different quirks, and different things work for different people. So if we see like someone's not working under a vet, we have that conversation, we move them out of that group, we move them into a different group. And then 2 years ago, for all girls specifically, we started Bigs and Littles, just kind of like sororities do. And that's really been huge for like the younger kids to be able to have someone to reach out to, and they don't feel so like lost sheep in the field. And those older kids definitely take pride in pulling those kids and getting them to buy into the West Georgia standard. And we always tell them, you get out of this program what you put into it.
Oh, yes.
And it's definitely not for everybody. So if you come your first year and you realize like this isn't for me, I can still love you and not have to coach you, and we can part ways. Let's just do it in a clean way. But having those hard conversations and making sure you're weeding out the lazy, and that, you've got people who are all rowing the boat, not putting water in the boat, and sitting the paddles down.
Real quick, we got about 5 minutes. Instagram Live kicks you off at 1 hour. So that's but one last question, because I'm sure this is a question you get a lot that I would love for you to talk about. It cuts off here because it's a kind of a long one. But basically, what is the tryout process at West Georgia? Let's say in a normal year. We don't have COVID. What is the tryout process? How do kids get recruited by you? And kind of what do you look for at tryouts?
So the whole recruitment process is, like I talked about before, coming to clinics. And when you come to the clinics, introduce yourself and stay introducing yourself, at every clinic that you come to. But I want to see you make the effort to come to the clinic. I want to see your face. I want to see you stunt with my kids. It's hard when I have to watch it on a video, because I don't know how good the other people are that you're stunning with. I mean, I always say, I was like, if I put myself with the right all-girl people, I would look like an amazing bait. Like, I would look so good just throwing and sticking my hands up, closing my eyes. They would put those feet in my hands, So it's hard to judge things off of video, and then, so coming to clinics, doing well at clinics, coming up after the clinics and introducing yourself, letting me know what your intentions are, where you're from, what you've done, that kind of stuff. Those are the biggest ways to get recruited specifically by us, because it shows that you're outgoing. It gives me a sense of who you are, what your character is, and that you're not just trying to make the team with your skills, because we go beyond skills.
All right. So my last question that I ask every coach is, what is the one piece of advice that pops in your head right away that you can think of that you received that still has a huge influence on you today as a coach?
Be a lifelong learner. That's Sherry Cooney says that all the time. Be a lifelong learner. Always be willing to change and learn new ways and adapt new styles, because the generations keep changing. And if you aren't a lifelong learner and you're stuck in your old ways, you're never going to make moves.
That is unbelievable piece of advice from an unbelievable coach. Nicole, like I said, I am so glad we got to finally meet.
Me too.
And,
I know.
Hopefully one day we can meet in person, which would be great. I just want to say, like, West Georgia is an unbelievable program. Thank you for everything you've done with that program. You guys are so much fun. I still remember, I can't remember what year it was, when your all-girl group did the back handspring dolphin up. You know what I'm talking about?
We did it last year, yeah.
You did it last year as your elite, which was crazy.
Yes.
But I remember sitting there.
3 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. And it took us that long to get that skill as a team. Yeah.
Was that the arena? It was in the arena, right? First year of the arena, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
I remember seeing that, and I was like recording it, and I'm like, I need to rewind this. What the heck was that?
I don't even know what it was.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for the innovation that you've given to our industry. I wish you the best of luck. Stay safe, stay healthy. And thanks again for taking your time today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No problem. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Nicole Nichols, University of West Georgia, assistant coach on the U.S. all-girl national team. Awesome discussion. I didn't know she cheered at Slippery Rock. I didn't know some of the things about her past, and that was awesome to hear. I didn't know that she was in special education, working with autistic children. I mean, that is awesome. So thank you again, Nicole, for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Again, real quick, one more shout out to our sponsor for today, Cheer Chalk. Go to cheerchalk.us, put in the discount code FULLOUT10 to get an additional 10% off the $5 off they have going right now. So definitely save a good amount of money. One bottle lasts for about 50 uses. So it's a very good product, very good way to get the most bang out of your buck right now is, again, go to cheerchalk.us and put in FULLOUT10. Thank you all very much. I will be back next week with more Full Out Chats. Who are they? You'll have to find out tomorrow. I will post that tomorrow on our Full Out Chats Instagram. So again, I have 3 guests lined up for next week, which will be an awesome time to learn more about people's stories and hear about it. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, have a great day.